You're right, piracy is not inherently moral. Neither is purchasing something. What I was trying to say in this original video is that the whole "you wouldn't download a car" propaganda campaigns were meant to make piracy seem like it is by default immoral. As our level of commonly available technology increased and the ability to copy software became commonplace, there was a concerted effort to make people turn away from doing so. And this isn't new. You could see anti-piracy campaigns going way back to the 1970s. The choice of the word piracy was a purposeful one. Remember, the other things that we associate piracy with are theft by physical force. Literally, people taking your shit. In fact, the origins of the term piracy as we know it come from the music industry. It comes from the term pirate radio. People would broadcast on airwaves that they weren't licensed to broadcast on, and they would end up playing music that they didn't license. And so breaking copyright ended up being known as piracy. But even back then, pirate radio stations did a lot of things for the common man. They were able to introduce people to music that they weren't able to be introduced to otherwise. So piracy always had a gray morality. I tell people that if you want to talk about piracy, take the word piracy out. Replace it in everything you say with copying without permission. So your statement would be, copy games without permission if you want, but don't act as if you have some moral high ground for doing so. And you're right, it's not morally better. Based on context. If you support a company that has horrible practices, that might be morally worse than pirating. And if you pirate from an indie developer who's also their own publisher, that's probably worse than purchasing it. All acts have to be examined in context. The reason I say this is not to give people a pass for pirating anything they want. The reason I say this is because our intellectual property law is broken and we really need to have serious discussions on how to fix it. And we can't do that if a good portion of the populace is having this instant, angry, emotional response whenever it comes to piracy. And then there ends up being a backlash to that response from people who think that piracy is okay. And then we're all at each other's throats and we get nowhere. And what I'm trying to say is this emotional response, this kind of petty war we have against each other, is manufactured. Publishers that abuse copyright law want us doing this. They want one side to accuse the other of being criminals and the other side to snap back. It keeps the status quo. We should be talking about when is it permissible to copy without permission. What are changes we can make to copyright law to make things more fair? How can copyright law change to protect the consumer and protect the artist? And everything in between, from hacks to mods to emulation. And we never have that conversation if we just keep yelling at each other. That's why I hate the term piracy. Get rid of it. It's copying. It's copying without permission. And we've been having discussions about copying without permission since the printed word first became commonly available.